We're going to talk about explaining extreme events now, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Jeff Rosenberg and Julie Vano. Jeff, tell us a little bit about the Explaining Extreme Events paper.
So Explaining Extreme Events is a special edition of the Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society. We've been doing this for 7 years, and in this 7th volume we've seen so much growth in the number of papers that are coming out that are doing this sort of attribution science that we're starting to see a shift in the focus of what we do to serve the society better, to serve our researchers better. So these 17 papers that we've collected this year are covering droughts in Africa, they're covering floods in South America, they're covering all sorts of extreme weather events, some of them marine events like a huge warming in the oceans off of Tasmania. So the thing is that this kind of extreme weather is a major effect on society, right? This is how we live. We live in daily weather. But attribution science can connect what's going on daily, what's going on regional and short seasonal scales to climate change. And not just the climate change, but to the human effect on climate change. So that's the attribution part of all of these papers. And as a sum collection of papers, we're seeing a tremendous message to society that if we can make these connections and we can look at what we're living through every day, we can see that there's a new climate emerging and that it's due to human impact. And we can assess not only that there's a connection, but that the risk is quantifiable. So it's a little bit like going to the doctor and the doctor sees that you've got a pack of cigarettes in your pocket. He says, well, you know, I have bad news for you. He's not going to say you're going to get lung cancer. He's going to say your odds of getting lung cancer have really skyrocketed.
Well, let's talk just a little second about those odds. So are those odds getting better or worse?
Well, better if you like to see crazy, unexpected things. Worse if you're not prepared. And I think being prepared and understanding the changing risks is what these papers are all about. But we need society and we need decision makers, we need Wall Street to take a look at this. And you know, they don't make decisions where they don't know the situation. If they're going to give you money to build something, they want to know the facts. And the facts are that risks have really changed dramatically with climate change. You can't plan for a flood based on the 30-year data that you had the past 30 years. That's a different climate. So Julie, I think, really covers that really well in the report, in that we're starting to gather up opinions and facts about how people use this information, because society is on a wholly different basis now because of this.
So Julie, how does that relate to water management?
Well, so this is incredibly important to water managers. They are facing extreme events that are well beyond their experience and well beyond what we see in the historical record. And they're wondering, what does this mean? Should I believe this forecast or should I not? And what do I do? And I think this science has it provides a great opportunity and a tool that we can better understand how we look forward. That said, I think the science community really needs to connect with the decision makers to understand what it is that keeps them up at night. And by understanding that, we can better ask questions that address their real world concerns and make our science more actionable.
And you see these issues that we're talking about today playing out in the real world. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, yep. No, there's definitely, the chapter that I was a part of putting together is done by the American Meteorological Society Water Resources Committee, and they're a collection of folks from public utilities, from consulting firms, from federal agencies and academic institutions.
My last question, if I could. What do you think, a lot of people here this week, 24,000 I think, what would some of the takeaways be that you would suggest for this community?
I think a couple of takeaways. First of all, for this community, a research community, it's important to know that their science has an impact on the way we live and what we can afford to do as a society. It's such basic information now to know how climate change is changing things. They've got to reach out. They've got to reach out, as Julie said, to inform how they ask the questions that they're asking, and then also to help the world use that information in their decision-making models.
Well, thank you both very much indeed for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Fascinating stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
AGU TV has all all the coverage you could want from this year's conference. Now make sure to explore all of our content, which is updated each and every day of the conference, to stay up to date with all the very latest AGU news.